everybody? You in the building with your boy Connoisseur Big U for another edition of CuzWeKin's Open Ball, where, as you know, the drinks are on us, conversation, all that. Today we have a very interesting topic for you. We got Hove and the NFL and Jay-Z, you know. So, for all of you that didn't know, recently Jay-Z has partnered up with the NFL to lead a social initiative with the league that has given him opportunity to segue into majority ownership, possibly of an NFL team. This is what we're hearing. Both of those things sound like positive things to me. On one side, the social initiative, in the climate where the NFL has been questioned as do they have minority players' best interest in mind, and then the NFL also being the only major league that I think has had no minority ownership in its history. It's been met by a lot of people, especially in the minority community, with labels of Jay-Z being a sellout and saying that it's despicable that he do business with the NFL after what happened with Colin Kaepernick. Okay, so what happened with Colin Kaepernick? Colin Kaepernick, former quarterback for the NFL San Francisco 49ers, went to a Super Bowl, was a Pro Bowl level quarterback, great talent, a great football player, and also a social justice warrior, because he saw a need for support to an issue that didn't get support in police brutality. Nationally, minorities have been subject to police brutality at a much higher rate than other people in the country, other citizens. So Colin Kaepernick thought this was a problem, and he set out to try to figure out how to deal with this problem. And on suggestion from a friend of his that was in the armed forces, a veteran, he decided to kneel during the national anthem prior to the football games. So usually before the games, the national anthem is played and the players stand at attention while the national anthem is played until the end, and then afterwards, you go back to doing whatever you were doing. But what Colin Kaepernick was doing was taking a knee. He kneeled during the national anthem, and this brought ire from a lot of the fans, a lot of the owners, and people who took his protest of police brutality and tried to turn it into something else. What it ended up being was a protest against the flag, a protest against the national anthem, and this was how it was characterized, and it took the onus off of what it was supposed to be directed on, and that was supposed to be police brutality, and bringing light to that in the nation. And what it turned into was Colin Kaepernick versus the flag or the national anthem. This led to Colin Kaepernick not being able to find a job in the NFL. So his team did not renew his contract, and then he was not picked up by any other team for a length of time. Another one of his good friends, Eric Reed, who supported him in this protest, was also blackballed, as you could call it, from the NFL. So he couldn't find work at the time also. What this led to was Colin Kaepernick protesting and continuing to protest and trying to fight to get his job back. And there was a time where he had put together enough evidence where he felt like he could make a case versus the NFL. And him and his legal team hit the NFL with a collusion case, saying that they could prove that the owners in the NFL were getting together to ensure that he could not play in the NFL, that he couldn't have a job, that it wasn't because of his lack of talent or because he could be a problem in the locker room. That's not why he couldn't get a job. Not because he wasn't good enough to play, but it was because he was purposefully being blacklisted from the NFL. So fast forward from there, and it got to a point where I guess the NFL felt like he could have proved this case because they ended up offering Colin Kaepernick a settlement. Now, it started out as a protest of police brutality by Colin Kaepernick. A mini protest, not an aggressive protest, a silent protest, as you would. That when people saw that he was blackballed for that protest, turned into a more active boycott of the NFL, a more active boycott where people weren't watching NFL games, people weren't purchasing tickets to games, buying jerseys and things of that nature. And that led to the NFL, kind of settling with Colin Kaepernick when he brought this collusion suit out to trying to quell all of the noise that was going on and trying to quiet that and get that out of the way. So Colin Kaepernick accepts an undisclosed amount of money and makes an undisclosed deal and a settlement with the NFL and it seems that that's taken care of. So fast forward to now where Jay-Z is getting involved with the NFL through a connection that he had with Robert Kraft, who's the owner of the New England Patriots, an NFL team, and his connection with Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner of the NFL. So these two are introduced, and I guess Jay-Z, always an open, avid supporter of Colin Kaepernick's stance on police brutality, and then also a supporter of him after he was blackballed from the league to the point where he refused to perform at the halftime show in the Super Bowl because of, issues he had with how they were treating Colin Kaepernick. So Jay-Z and Roger Goodell come together and talk, and through some way, shape, or form, they come to some kind of deal where Jay-Z would head a social initiative with the NFL where they produce all different kinds of content for, for social media, podcasts. Players will be allowed to make their own content to, I guess, show the side of, show the player side, because for years the league had been centered around the owners' wants and needs, and people had to fall in line and do things the way the owners wanted to do. That also, like I was saying before, led him, or maybe even as part of that, because it's not disclosed, I don't know exactly what the deals were, but Jay-Z was put in a position where he could attain majority ownership of an NFL franchise. This will be looked at to me as progress. You should celebrate. We should say, hey, finally we have a foot in the door. We have one of us, inside where we could possibly try to make change, could try to input and affect change in an organization that has been all one way since the beginning of the organization, but we never had a voice there, where all we were able to do was play, run, catch, throw, tackle, and now we would have somebody on the inside of the upper level where policies were made and decisions were made that affected, what happened to these players. We should be happy for that, but of course not, because, we're black people, and what do we like to do? We like to pull each other down, put each other down. So now he's a sellout, and, how could Jay-Z make a deal with the NFL when Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job? Even though he just accepted a settlement from the NFL, and he's also vocally saying that he's ready to play again. I'm ready to play, let me play. Not that he's at a point where, since the league blackballed him, he's saying, fuck the league, excuse my French, I don't want to play for them no more. They're a dirty organization and I'm not playing. He's ready to play, so he's going to play, and there's no issue with that. But now that Jay-Z would come to try to carry on what the original protest was against police brutality and try to bring light to some other things and maybe shape the way that the NFL views these different things, he receives backlash for that, which is crazy to me. You have Colin Kaepernick has received his settlement, and then Eric Reed, who was Colin Kaepernick's, or is a good friend of Colin Kaepernick, he's been active on the Carolina Panthers since last year, since September of last year. So he's been playing for the league that everybody is calling Jay-Z a sellout for making a deal with, but nobody says anything about anybody except for the person that's at the position to affect real change, which doesn't make any sense. It's like, as long as we stay where we are, we're happy with being where we are. But as soon as we step out of the box and try to do things that could maybe affect the direction that things move, we're quick to strike each other down and shoot each other down. I guess that ownership in the NFL will be bad, I guess is what people are trying to get everybody to believe. And if that's the case, let me know how in the comments below, because unless we're going to start another league, and this is where my issue lies, because if Jay-Z is going to work with the NFL, he's a sellout. If he's going to be an owner in the NFL, he's a sellout. We should not support anything that's NFL. But then where's the alternative? Because last time I checked, about 80% of the players in the NFL were minority people. So if we're not supposed to support anything NFL, are all these players supposed to abandon the NFL? Or is it only that if a billionaire mogul that has the chance to enact real change on an organization from the inside has a chance to do that, that's when we start pointing fingers and saying that you're a sellout or you should do something different, but not, why don't we change it from the bottom up? Like, I would be totally happy with all of the stars in the NFL. Most of them are black and guys that I love football. I don't watch football anymore. And this was from the Colin Kaepernick protest. I still don't watch football. I haven't watched the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, none. And I'm an avid Giants fan. I look at the scores to see what the scores are, but I haven't seen a game in a couple of years now. So when they're ready to get all of the players together and then form, some minority football league, and it doesn't even have to be not minority because it doesn't have to be exclusive, but inclusive. It has to allow the players to, express themselves and speak freely and have support for things like what Colin Kaepernick did without being punished for these things. That's the league that needs to happen. But nobody is coming up with this league. Nobody is making a suggestion that the players leave and make this league or make a better situation. But what we do is we do the crab in the barrel syndrome and pull down the one of us that's trying to make some change in the system the way that it is. I don't understand it. I don't think that it's right. And I won't stand around silent while people, because it's a bunch of people. I think that a lot of people are just agreeing with what anybody says. I think that we have an issue in our community where the status quo people just say what everybody else is saying. Whatever the popular sneaker is what you'll see everybody wearing. Whatever the we talk about this, in open bar previously. Whatever the popular alcohol is, that's what you'll see everybody drinking. And whatever the popular idea is to be had in our community is what everybody will be saying. So I think that it's time that we use common sense, do some research. I spoke about this in a political corner that we did a while ago. If you don't agree with what's going on, do some research, find out what's going on, because I don't even think that most people have an idea what is exactly going on. What is the deal that Jay-Z has with the NFL? What are they planning to do? And, how does that work into the framework of what's going on? And then once you do that, make a decision on the information that you find. Not what you hear on ESPN or Fox Sports Network or, on Hot 97. And all of these places are viable places for you to go to get opinions. But for you to form your own opinion, you need to do research, on your own. Listen to all of these different people. Do your own research, get information, and then formulate an opinion based on that instead of just listening to whatever you hear other people saying. I would say just give him leeway on what he's been recently doing in his social activity. Things like the Khalif Browder story, or the way that he assisted Meek Mill when they were trying to railroad him for such a small infraction and put him in jail for what seemed like forever. The way that Jay-Z has been supporting Trayvon Martin's family behind the scenes since he was taken from them, and things of that nature. The way that he helped 21 Savage when they were trying to deport him. And look at things like that to see what direction this guy's moving, because if people think that it's all about the money and, he just made a deal with the NFL because he needs a check, the last time I checked on his checks, he was a billionaire. So I don't think that his moves are money motivated anymore. Once you get to a certain level, and and this is not speaking from somebody who's ever been to any level. Right now, I would make moves that are money motivated because I need money. I don't think that Jay-Z is a person at this time that needs money. So, I think that he's earned some time to at least, let's see what he's going to do. If halfway through the season or after this season that's coming up, we don't see anything different in all he does, because I think part of his deal is that he'll be in charge of the halftime show of the Super Bowl. If we see nothing throughout the season, there's nothing different, there's nothing being said, there's nothing being shown different, no images different, no anything different, and then we just see some fire-ass halftime show with explosions and Jay-Z and dancers and all this kind of shit, then we say Jay-Z is a sellout, and I'll be the first one. I'll make a video saying, Ho is my man, that's my favorite rap artist and all of this type of things, but he's falling short and he is selling out. I'll be the first one to call him the task. But just until you give him that chance to make that change, I don't think that we should be pointing fingers. And the craziest thing is, I don't even think he gives a fuck. I don't think he cares at all, because he understands what he's doing, and that's how he's gotten to where he is, by not worrying about what the sheep are going to think about what he's doing. So that's my spiel on that. And I know usually it's a little more comical and it's lighthearted and all that, but I just think it's seriously, we spoke about this in the wealth episode, that we need to applaud people that are doing exceptional things, and then when we're making progress, we need to recognize progress, hold on to it and support it, so that a little bit of progress is better than no progress. So we highlight the progress, we applaud it, and then hopefully it will become more progress, and that's how we'll move forward. But to say, oh no, don't work with the NFL, or oh no, don't go do this or that, and meet with these people working for the NFL, and this is what the NFL players do. I don't even knock that, but I'm saying if they wanted to say Jay-Z don't work for the NFL, but if you're working alongside where you can affect change and create policy and things like that, that's the only way that we're going to change anything. That's the same thing that they talk about in government, where they say start at a grassroots level, where get involved in your community and try to make change there, because you're not going to be able to make a change at the high level yet. So in the area where you have more power, if Jay-Z has a partnership, so if he can get inside those offices and talk to people and say, let's do this way, maybe we should frame this like this, maybe we should show support for players, or do this like this, maybe he will, maybe he won't, but let's give him a chance to do it. As always, it's been your boy Big U. Cause we can. Drinks is on us. Thanks for coming out, chilling with me. I'll let you. Yeah.